Okay, so I think we can all relate to this feeling that there's never enough time, right? Like there are not enough hours in the day, and we're always wishing we had more time.
Definitely.
So today we're going to dive deep into a book called 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkman.
Okay.
And it's all about tackling this human dilemma of time.
Yeah.
And, we don't actually have the book in front of us,
Right.
but we have a fantastic review that kind of hits all the high points,
Yeah.
which is perfect for us.
Absolutely.
And it promises some seriously fresh perspectives on how to make the most of our very limited time on this planet.
Yes, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
One of the key takeaways from the book is that Burkman doesn't look at our limited time as this problem to solve.
Oh, interesting.
He looks at it as like the foundation of a meaningful life.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy to get caught up in that,
Yeah.
do more, be more, achieve more.
Yeah.
And you just feel overwhelmed and constantly behind. So if that's not the way to approach it, then what is?
Well, the book really pushes back against this idea that we always have to be striving for efficiency. You know?
Yeah.
Like trying to squeeze as much as we can into each day.
Right.
Because oftentimes that just leads to more to do. Berkman's argument is that productivity isn't actually about speed. It's about figuring out what's truly important and focusing on that.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
Like instead of trying to do everything,
Yeah.
we should be more selective with where we're putting our energy.
Yeah.
And there was a great example in the review.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it was about procurement professionals.
Okay. Yeah.
It was saying that instead of, like micromanaging every single little detail of a project,
Yeah.
that it's actually more strategic to focus on building those key relationships with their suppliers.
Right.
Because that's where the real long-term impact is going to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm thinking if we apply that principle to our own lives, it raises a really interesting question.
What's that?
If you could pick just one area of your life
Yeah.
where you could really benefit from focusing on what truly matters
Right.
instead of, just being busy,
Yeah.
what would that be?
That's a good question.
Right.
Yeah, and I think it leads really well into one of the big ideas in the book.
Okay.
Which is JOMO. JOMO.
Yeah. Okay. You've got my attention.
So it stands for the joy of missing out.
Okay.
And it might sound like it's about deprivation, but it's not.
Okay.
It's more about recognizing that when you consciously choose to say yes to something, you're also saying no to other things.
Right.
And there can be a real sense of joy and liberation in that.
Yeah, I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
Like that feeling when you decline a meeting and suddenly you have like a free hour to focus on something important.
Yeah.
Or choosing to spend a weekend with family.
Right.
Instead of going to, get another networking event.
Yeah.
It's all about making choices that actually align with what you truly value.
Right. And this applies to work, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The review mentioned a good example about marketing professionals.
Okay.
It's so easy to get caught up in, chasing after every new trend.
Oh, totally.
What if instead you said, I'm going to use this JOMO idea and I'm only going to focus on the campaigns that really fit with my long-term goals.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be less overwhelming and probably more effective.
For sure.
In the long run.
So basically, JOMO is about being strategic.
Yes.
With your time and energy.
Uh-huh.
And making choices that support your overall well-being and your goals.
Yeah.
Saying yes to what matters and, just letting go of the rest.
Exactly. I like it. It actually goes hand in hand with another idea from 4,000 Weeks.
Oh, okay.
It's this idea of living in the now for the future.
Okay, that sounds a little contradictory.
I know, right?
So how can being present, like right now, help us achieve our long-term goals?
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
When we're constantly worrying about the future or dwelling on the past, we're not really engaged in what's happening right now.
That's true.
And it's in the present moment where all the action happens.
Okay.
And where real change takes place. So, for example, you're working on a big, complex project, like they often do in supply chain.
Right.
It's so easy to get bogged down, anxious about deadlines and potential problems.
Oh, yeah.
But all that mental energy you're spending on the future, it's actually taking away from the focus you could have on what you're doing right now.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not about like ignoring planning or anything.
Right.
It's more about finding that balance between taking action and being present
exactly
in each step.
Exactly.
So 4,000 Weeks suggests that this present moment awareness can help us achieve those long-term goals more effectively.
That's the idea.
Yeah. So let's bring it back to our listeners.
Okay.
What's one small thing that someone listening right now could do to be more present and less stressed today?
That's a good question.
Like something really practical and achievable?
Yeah.
Even if they're super busy.
Maybe taking a 5-minute break during the day.
Okay.
Just to be mindful or something.
Yeah.
Or putting their phone away at dinner.
Uh-huh.
So they can actually be present with whoever they're with.
I love that.
Yeah. Even small changes in where we focus our attention can make a big difference.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And that's just the beginning.
Right.
The review talk about a lot of practical tips and strategies from 4,000 Weeks.
Absolutely.
Specifically for people you know who are all about learning and growth.
Yes.
Like our listeners.
Exactly.
So
let's jump into some of those now.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, one thing the 4,000 Weeks talks about.
Is that one of the biggest obstacles to making the most of our time? Is this idea that we need to strive for perfection?
Oh, yeah.
In everything we do.
That pressure to be perfect.
Yeah.
It can be so paralyzing.
It is.
It keeps us from starting things.
Yeah.
Taking risks. Even enjoying the process sometimes.
And Burkman argues that this pursuit of perfection, it's not only unrealistic, but it actually robs us of the joy and fulfillment that we could be getting from just doing our best, even if it's messy or imperfect.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
It's like letting go of the need to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
And embracing the beauty of imperfection.
Exactly. And it kind of connects to another concept from the book.
Okay.
This idea of a scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset.
Okay, so tell me more about the scarcity mindset.
It's that feeling that we all have sometimes.
Yeah.
That there's never enough time.
Okay.
Like we're always behind.
Right.
Always rushing.
Yeah.
And so we approach our to-do list with this sense of urgency and anxiety, which actually can make us less productive in the long run.
It's like we're running on a treadmill, but going nowhere.
Exactly.
So how do we shift out of that scarcity mindset?
Well, Burkman suggests that we start by recognizing that even within limitations, there's still so much possibility.
Okay.
It's about appreciating the time that we have.
Right.
And focusing on the quality of our experiences rather than the quantity of tasks that we're checking off our list.
So instead of viewing our 4,000 weeks as like a countdown, we should see it as this vast landscape to be explored.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, and within this framework of abundance, Burkman brings up this concept of playfulness.
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 Okay, now that sounds fun.
Yeah.
How does that fit into making the most of our time?
Okay, well, think back to when you were a kid.
Okay.
Remember that feeling of being completely absorbed in something. You lose track of time because you're so engaged.
Yeah. Totally.
And Burkman argues that we should bring that sense of playfulness into our adult lives.
Okay.
It unlocks creativity and can lead to all sorts of breakthroughs.
For sure. I know when I'm having fun,
yeah,
work doesn't feel like a chore.
Right.
It feels more like an exciting challenge.
Exactly. So it's about finding those activities that really light us up, that make us feel alive and engaged, even if they're not traditionally seen as productive.
Right. Like painting or playing music.
Yeah.
Or even coding or gardening.
Exactly. Anything that brings you joy.
Yeah. It's about making space for those activities that nourish our souls. And that remind us why we're here.
Yeah.
It's not about being productive in the traditional sense.
Right.
It's about living a life that feels full and meaningful.
And that brings us to another point that Burkman makes.
Okay.
Embracing our limitations.
Limitations. I thought we were talking about making the most of our limited time.
Well, it goes beyond time. We also have limitations in our abilities, our knowledge, our energy.
Yeah.
We often feel like we have to be experts in everything.
Totally.
Have all the answers, keep up with every single trend.
Oh, it's so overwhelming.
It is, and it can lead to a lot of self-doubt.
Yeah.
And comparison and information overload.
Oh, yeah.
So Burkman says just embrace the fact that you can't know everything.
Oh.
It's okay to be a beginner.
Yeah.
Ask for help. Admit when you don't know something.
I love that.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off, and it makes space for curiosity and humility.
Exactly.
And it allows us to approach learning and growth with excitement rather than fear.
And when we let go of that need to be perfect or all-knowing, it opens us up to new possibilities.
Okay.
We become more receptive to new ideas, more willing to experiment, are likely to take risks.
And that's where the magic happens.
Exactly, both in our personal and professional lives.
I love that. Embracing our limitations can actually lead to growth and innovation.
Yeah, that's the idea.
And that actually connects back to playfulness.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, because when we're not so worried about being right or being perfect, we're more likely to explore, experiment, try new things, and tap into that sense of wonder and curiosity that fuels creativity and joy.
And that's what makes life worth living.
Exactly.
It's those moments of exploration and discovery, the joy and connection that make our 4,000 weeks feel meaningful.
I think we've covered a lot of ground here in this part of our deep dive, but there's still so much more to explore in 4,000 weeks.
Yeah.
So many practical takeaways and strategies to help us apply these ideas to our everyday lives.
We've only scratched the surface. Welcome back.
Yeah.
You know, after talking about all this stuff in 4,000 weeks, it makes me want to like roll up my sleeves and make some changes, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So in this last part of our deep dive, let's get practical and figure out how we can actually apply these insights to our own lives.
Yeah. I mean, the real power of these ideas is in putting them into practice.
Exactly.
And the good news is you don't have to do a complete life overhaul or anything.
Okay.
It was more about making small, intentional choices and incorporating them into your everyday life.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I think our listeners are like me. We're always looking for those like actionable takeaways, things we can do right away.
Absolutely.
So like, where should we start?
Well, we talked a lot about boundaries earlier.
Yeah.
That's a great place to begin.
Okay.
So maybe it's something as simple as committing to leaving work on time.
Okay.
At least a couple days a week.
Right.
Or like silencing your phone notifications after dinner.
Yeah. I like that one.
Yeah, so you can actually be present with your family. It's so important.
It is.
To have those digital boundaries in today's world.
Yeah, you need to reclaim your time and attention.
Totally.
And focus it on the things that matter.
Okay, so beyond boundaries, what else?
Well, 4,000 Weeks also talks about being intentional.
Yeah.
About how you use your time.
Okay.
Remember that Eisenhower matrix we mentioned before?
Oh, yeah.
It's a really useful tool for figuring out which tasks are urgent and which ones are important.
Right. So it helps us decide, you know, what needs our attention right this second.
Exactly.
And what can wait.
Yeah, it's about being proactive instead of reactive.
Like choosing how we spend our time. Instead of letting it get dictated by, you know, external demands.
Exactly. And that proactive approach is also really important when it comes to commitments.
Yeah.
Like learning to say no more often.
Right. Like we talked about with Jomo.
Exactly. Saying no can be tough.
Especially for people who like to please others.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's important to remember that every time you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else.
It's true.
So make sure those trade-offs are aligning with your values and priorities.
Yeah, those are wise words.
And, you know, another practical strategy from the book is about creating rituals and routines. Burkman suggests that having certain times set aside for specific activities, whether it's exercise or creative work or spending time with family, that can actually help ensure that those things happen.
So it's like building good habits into our lives.
Yes.
So we don't have to rely on willpower alone.
Exactly. Willpower can be unreliable.
It can.
So, yeah, these rituals don't have to be complicated or take up a lot of time.
Right.
Maybe it's just 10 minutes of meditation in the morning.
Okay.
Or a weekly family game night. Or a Sunday afternoon walk.
Yeah, I like that.
The key is to find what works for you and make it a regular part of your life.
It's about making those small choices.
Yeah.
That over time lead to a more meaningful life.
Exactly. And that's really what 4,000 Weeks is all about.
Yeah.
It's not about squeezing more into our lives.
Right.
It's about savoring the time we do have and making it count.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that our lives aren't defined by, you know, the number of things we check off a to-do list.
No.
But by the quality of our experiences. And the connections we make along the way.
4,000 Weeks is encouraging us to shift our focus from quantity to quality, from achieving to experiencing, from doing to being.
And I think that's a really powerful takeaway.
Yeah.
It's not about striving for this perfect life or, you know, ultimate productivity.
Yeah.
It's about embracing the journey with all its ups and downs.
Yeah.
And finding joy in the everyday moments.
That's it.
Making our 4,000 weeks count. Not by doing more, but by living more fully.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want you to think about what really stuck with you. What small changes can you make to live more intentionally, more authentically?
That's a great question.
You know, it's about progress, not perfection.
Absolutely.
Every step we take towards living a more meaningful life is a step in the right direction.
That's it.
So thanks for joining us today.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
And until next time, may your 4,000 weeks be filled with purpose,
Absolutely.
joy, and a deep appreciation for time.